is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. What in the world? It's Monday, July 1st? You're kidding me. Where has the time gone in 2024? Usually this would be Mailbag Monday, but unfortunately, we are saving that mail for later because we are fresh off of Forbidden Door. We're going to be breaking all of that down right this second, essentially. I've already got a comment in here. Lord Virus of Nurgle, what's up, Clark? What's going on, my friend? Thank you for tuning in. But I got to introduce the panel for today out of the gates. Absolutely. Let me send this one over to Philadelphia. We've been hanging out way too many days in a row, but why stop now? Post Forbidden Door, yesterday daily. How are you? Head of Opinions, Anthony Ricciardi.
I'm doing all right. It's fun to always review a pay-per-view, and today's a special day. Clark, you'll appreciate this amongst everybody. Happy Bobby Bonilla Day. It's the fun day that every year, July 1st, a Phillies fan that hates the Mets gets to enjoy the fact that they did the dumbest thing of all time and deferred a payment of $6 million and instead are paying him $1.2 million a year until 2035. So it's fun.
It is a beautiful day. And if you know me, you know I'm a good friend of Bobby Bonilla's. Monster shout out, American Airlines Celebrity Golf champions as teammates. Bobby Bo, the man, congrats once again. Another year. Stronger, absolutely. I'm going to send this one, though, now north of the border to our head of reviewing, a guy that really had to do a lot of extra work last night during that watch party we enjoyed for Forbidden Door. Coby Galenzoski, how are you on this fine Monday?
Been pretty good. Of course, it was a little more draining than normal. Didn't have the crew I have. Ben Allison had an important meeting today, so I was stuck doing the Instagram. Of course, my AEW reviewer was unable to do it as well, so I was stuck doing everything Forbidden Door related and review related at the same time. It went smooth, of course. I trust myself. But, of course, it was an enjoyable night of wrestling regardless. There's some stuff I had issues with, and, of course, we'll get into that when we can. But you have one more person to introduce.
Absolutely. And we're going to go south, but not very far south, to my hometown of Chicago. Coach Tommy Welsh, what's going on? Good to have you back. How you been?
What's going on, guys? It's good to be back. Love talking some Forbidden Door and AEW. It's one of my favorite pay-per-views of the year. Went to the first one here in Chicago and absolutely loved it. So I'm excited to talk about it. And I mean, my night was a little bit easier than Kobe's, so I'm chilling. I'm good, man. I'm ready to go.
Absolutely. I am fired up myself. Let's get right into it. Let's start with that main event of the evening out of the gates. Let's get it out of the way because I think it's the key talking point coming out of last night. This is a match that was off the charts. Normally, Ant, I would head over to you, but I know Coby reviewed this match last night. Mm-hmm. Controversial score, but not really. It's about as high as you could give it without going all the way. Not quite 5, Cobe. I got to ask you about that because my question is, could this potentially be considered a match of the year candidate?
I mean, that's the thing, it can. And we're not if we're talking about match of the year, obviously it doesn't depend on my rating. Of course, there have been already a number of 5-star matches under the banner. Of course, Cody and Roman, Bayley and Io Sky, Sammy Gunther, just to name a few, Danielson, Ospreay. Of course, this had every right to potentially be a 5-star classic, WR 5-star, as we like to call it, of course. But I mean, personally, there was issues with the psychology. And at the end, we know they love to do their near falls, their false finishes. It got to the point where it was like, okay, just end it. Swerve had it twice and pretty much should have had it one of those times before, and then he had to hit him with the house call, and Ospreay still getting to his feet. Like, you should have had that. Like, if Swerve is holding Will Ospreay's lifeless body or his dead weight up and then dropping him down, there's no way Will Ospreay should be getting up right after the house call again. And then it should have been Swerve Strickland really pulling him up to get him in position for the JML driver. Or I think they call it big pressure now. They might. I'm pretty sure. But regardless, I mean, that it was the right move. We needed Will Ospreay to lose this match. You're not putting both titles on him. At this point, Swerve Strickland needed this defining victory for his championship reign, and he got it. I don't know what's to come. Of course, we know Will Ospreay is going to face Dan Garcia in Chicago. Swerve, we know, is facing the winner of the Owen, and I think it's either us. It's either Danielson, or if this wild card has a shot, maybe the wild card. But I don't know where it's going. But I'm excited.
Absolutely. So sorry, by the way, I clicked the wrong button there. But I was trying to unmute myself and I put the camera on myself. I totally apologize, Coby. But no, I love what you said there. I understand also marking it down. I do think Taz did a good job of covering up though the spot where it came to those house calls. He said Ospreay looks out on his feet. I thought that was one of the best commentary spots of the night. I do have to give credit where it's due when it comes to that, but I also agree with you that a slower build or a more dead weight Will Ospreay would have been a visually more appealing finish to the match, given all the false finishes we had at the end. Right?
Given the fall, and that's the thing. If you're trying to sell that he's out, if you're trying to sell that he's out,
right?
Why is he still moving?
Out on his feet, though,
especially after another shot.
I will say this, Coby, and I'm not even trying to extend the conversation on this part of it that much longer, but we did both also watch Yuri Prohaska and Alex Bejeda on Saturday night. Out on your feet is a real thing, right?
Yeah.
That left hook in the first round is why what happened in the second round happened. He was out on his feet, right? That fight was already over. They could have sold that story better visually, is the way that I would put it, if that makes sense, Coby. Would you agree with that?
Right. No, it could have been very well done. Like, yes, I understand they do the near falls and you can do it, but
he could still stand up and be more jelly-legged, more right. Like he did still look like he was kind of in the match, standing up from that many shots.
Well, yeah, he was taking that off his thing. He probably shouldn't have taken it off his elbow pad and just did it. That's part of the reason why Swerve could have just caught him. No, he took it off and then he still did it.
Yep.
Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say it took me out of what was a very entertaining and very good, and I can say plenty of good things, especially after basically bringing the crowd to life after a lifeless night.
I'm with you on that too. It was by far the match of the night. It's a little bit. I don't want people to think we're out here just like looking at a masterpiece and trying to find one bad brushstroke, right? Like that. Right. That's not the case. This is the one thing you could possibly criticize, and given that you reviewed it, if 475 is as strong of a score as you can give, other than one other. So like, let's not forget that this was a great finishing match, and like you said, reawoke the crowd from a night that was kind of up and down when it came to the crowd stuff. Anthony, obviously, we're head of opinions, head of reviewing. We got an all-star team, and then we got coach. Come on, Anthony. What were your thoughts on this one last night? Was this the match of the night? Let's not even go match of the year.
For me, I think it was the match of the night for me. It was a very tough spot for them to be in because, and as this has been discussed many times, they overstacked the card. With 15 matches, 5.5 hours, that's a lot for an audience to sit through. And to get a reaction from the crowd after all that time, it's extra hard for them. We talk about on Thursdays all the time on Throwback when we cover Dynamite. The build for this match has always been a bit of an issue, at least a part of in the beginning when they were building towards the Swerve Ospreay match. But during those final builds, they nailed it. I felt like it was more of okay, there's actual heat there, so you can kind of do stuff with it. I thought they delivered in the ring. I agree with you. Very much you can get hit and the lights are on, but no one's home. You're kind of on autopilot. And I kind of viewed that's kind of how Ospreay was when he delivered his hidden blade. It was kind of like it's just instinct at that point. They also continued the Don story. Eventually this is going to lead to Ospreay likely feuding with the Don Callis family, whatever that particular group is going to end up being, because it's there, but it's not doing anything. But there's a number of stables in AEW that are in that position. So I think that's ultimately the direction it's probably going to go. Him beating him clean surprised me a little bit, because I thought, knowing how they're pushing him, I wasn't really sure if they were going to do the clean finish. But it helped further establish Swerve as a legitimate champion, which was the concern going into it, that his booking didn't have the same gravitas, the same feel that he should have. Where he goes from here, there's any number of things. Like they said, the Owen tournament, we don't know exactly who's going to win it. It could be Danielson, it could be the wild card, it could be rumored names that are possibly coming into the company. It's any number of people that can go in. With a wild card, it's exactly that, a wild card. It could easily be Ricochet, it could be Danielson, it could be Jeff Jarrett, which I don't think it would be. I can't imagine that would be the match for All In, but overall, I thought Swerve and Ospreay delivered in there. Especially, I love the spot with the stomp on the announce desk. I thought that visually was a very cool move to witness and had to be a nightmare to receive.
It's interesting because I think after the night we had to your point, we almost forgot about how athletic these two are. Like there was some Cirque du Soleil stuff. There was some vintage Ospreay stuff.
Yes.
If you haven't seen Ospreay do it in a long time, right? Like there was some stuntman type action. An interesting other one, and I want to get Tommy. I want to get your thoughts on the entire thing. But there was the spot with the screwdriver with Callis. I think the part that I liked the most about that was it actually established how much Nana means to Swerve. Prince Nana's role as Swerve's manager, whatever you'd like to call him, has really been kind of focused around how entertaining and fun the dance is and how supportive he is. But he clearly means a lot to Swerve. And I thought that was one of the coolest storytelling moments in the match, because it was real simple. He did all kinds of moves and things that you don't see every day. And just a screwdriver that never gets used reminds us how valuable Prince Nana is to Swerve as his friend and confidant, which is cool. I think it's unique for a babyface champion to have a manager that's that relevant in the storyline. But I want to get your thoughts on all of it. Do you agree with that sentiment, though, when it comes to the Nana and Swerve relationship and partnership?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it was a nice little touch at the end there, and it was kind of like an ode to Kenny against Moxley as well, where it kind of went down, and then the turn against Kenny. So it was a really, really great touch there, and a really nice little perspective. I really liked when Will had Nana by the guzzle, was going to do it, and Nana's like, Will, it's me. So it kind of added again to that, like, well, Ospreay and Swerve are kind of friends in real life, so it added to that feel as well. But I mean, Anthony and Coby and you touched on it all. Like it all had its moments. I will say that the second false finish, it popped me. Like I'm like, okay, it's done. That's a cool ending. It's over. And then when he kicked out, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like what else is next? And then it just adds more fuel to the JML driver, big pressure, whatever. That it's a legit finisher, which I love, and I wish he would use more, but understand how difficult it is against maybe some bigger opponents. But overall the match was just fantastic. I loved Swerve using the hidden blade against Ospreay. It looked so good going into the Swerve stomp. I thought that was awesome. Like you said, the stomp on the table was phenomenal. The pile driver on the railing I thought was so cool. Like they had teased it earlier, then led to a sweet Hurricane Rana, and then boom, we bring it back and we actually hit a really impactful move. The match was it was phenomenal. I mean, like we were talking you can pick apart just the little things, but I mean, Ospreay again puts on another banger. Swerve is just that good. So I knew going into the night that this was going to be the match of the night, and it was going to be super entertaining and high paced and all that stuff, and it did not disappoint. So I could not have been happier with this. I thought the finish to have Swerve go over clean was good, was smart. It definitely adds to his championship prowess, and it's going to be interesting if they want to go Hangman Swerve 3 at All In, if he's the wild card, or if they bring in Ricochet, or I would love a Jay White Swerve at All In just because I'm a huge Jay White mark, but I loved it. This was fantastic.
Yeah, I am 100% with you. It was definitely the match of the night in my eyes, and consider it a classic, I think, for sure. But yeah, the false finishes, like you said, the first two were like, whoa. And when we started getting deeper in the waters, you're like, okay, any one of these, it's this is over, and that's where it almost like sucked some of the wind out of the log cabin they had built, right? Like they just like it was great. The other thing that I found really interesting before we move on really quick, was it just me, or post match did it feel like there was going to be some sort of return or run in or something, as they showed Swerve celebrate a lot longer before the watermark came up than I expected? Was I the only one that felt like that?
It felt like there was going to be, and my only thought was, because nothing obviously happened, did they finish early and they were just buying time till they finished the pay-per-view? Like that was the only thing I could think of, because why else would you do
the
that?
idea of just allow Swerve to celebrate for longer because it was an awesome match and he just beat Will Ospreay clean. But it didn't feel, in a weird way, it felt like it was like there was something else, like maybe that they were gonna, and maybe didn't necessarily work out. I'm not saying like a major debut or anything like that, but like they were gonna do one more thing and like, oh no, that's the end of the show, right? That's just the feeling I got.
Yeah, it ended right on the dot. So like it's possible that they
Mhm.
did finish early. Like the second 11 Central hit, like boom, they were done.
It was done, yeah. 100%. It was just interesting the way that there's a little bit more celebration time than I'm used to for an AEW pay-per-view is all I would say about that. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the AEW Women's World Championship match. Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa. Toni Storm doing character work all day in the curlers on the 0 hour. Stop it. Knock it off. Every time they show her sitting on it's in black and white. Like, come on, you're kidding me. I love it. And then she comes out, gets the win. Mariah May, Tony, the whole thing. I like all of this. It's just great character work. It's old school and it's fun. Coby, you rated it last night. Got to get your thoughts on this match. And your thoughts, though, less important than your rating, because if you haven't read Coby's rating, go read the article. I'm not just going to make him talk about his rating all day on today's show. Tell me what you think about Toni Storm's character work and how crazy it is, since she was getting caked or pied in the face by Charlotte Flair at the end of that WWE run. And now we have her in the 1950s. Where did she buy her time machine?
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? It's insane to look at someone like Toni Storm, who's been in AEW for almost just over 2 years, and she's been champion 3 different times in 3 different personas, and it shows her ability to play more characters and different characters. She won it normally, she won it as the Outcast, and of course Timeless. I do like the idea, the Statue of Liberty appearance, and she had the flaming torch and she was wearing all green, and the connection to that and the broken glass promo from Collision where she was stepping in the broken glass from the champagne bottle. It connects, it works, it's well thought out. There's a lot of good nuggets and it's a lot of good path lines right here. Sorry, I had to quickly mute. Regardless, this match irked me. And I think there's a lot of good stuff in
You
this.
sound irked.
I do sound irked. It had a lot of things go in a weird position, and Tony Storm and Mina Shikawa didn't play off the story that was being told. The entire story that's been the last 3 months is how Mariah May has a past with Mina Shirakawa, and she's clearly doing stuff with Tony Storm right now. From start to finish, that dynamic, those interactions, those relationships were never played upon throughout the entire match. And that's what irks me. I wanted to see Mariah May have an issue with it. Have Tony Storm do the hip attack into the steps. Show her wincing. The star of the program is Mariah May, and she did nothing in this match outside of after the match. That angle left a lot more to be desired based on just where this could have gone and what could have happened and what they could have done with the entire dynamics that they've created. But it just didn't happen. I think it was a good enough match for what it was. Probably the second best Tony Storm match of the year. I think that it's still Thunder Rosa from Dynasty, but the others were kind of underwhelming from Revolution and Double or Nothing. But this was still underwhelming as well because I expected more I expected more of the story that they've been telling to play out to actually come to light in this match, and it didn't.
I hear you.
And that's what pains me.
We've got Andy Wynn in the comments here that with the pre-show main event match was awesome. I thought so too, and it set it up with the curlers and everything. It was great. I love the poetry on that. Like, this left a lot to be desired, and like the entire story was built around desire. Like, that one's not lost upon me. I'm just saying. But let's go ahead and talk about our friends over at Next Level. Because if you're looking for more wrestling content and you haven't already gone here, I don't know what you're doing. They're great. It's absolutely free. No gimmicks whatsoever. Go to nxconnect.me/Western Republic. All of our content across all platforms linked all in one place. Super user-friendly. Tons of giveaways. All kinds of fun stuff going on. And speaking of fun stuff, let's continue to talk about Forbidden Door. We have a TBS title match that I was excited about. Stephanie Vaquer is awesome. She is so dang good. It's not even funny. And I'm a giant fan of Mercedes Moné. I am. Even though that she's got the Boston connection with the Snoop relationship, she's basically an honorary West Coaster in my eyes. So I'm totally a Mercedes Moné fan. The CEO gets the win. And then the right rivalry was built. Bring back that dentist. We're going to have some teeth rearranged. Tommy, what are we doing here?
Yeah, no, I mean that was the big takeaway from that match for me is Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, comes back and the crowd goes nuts. I mean, the three things that I took away from this match were New York hates Boston, hate Mercedes Moné, and Stephanie Vaquer is a stud, and then obviously Dr. Britt Baker. But it was super entertaining. It was a great match. I thought it was paced really well. I'm an issue with how they are treating title compared to the women's championship. That's my only gripe with this is that they're building this title up to be even bigger than the women's championship. Here's Tony Storm doing everything under the sun to make it super relevant and super good. And here you bring in Mercedes Moné. Now she's double champion. And then you have Britt Baker come back. Like, it just felt weird to me in that sense that they're treating this title bigger than the women's championship. But overall, I mean, the match was great. It was super entertaining. We found a new star in Stephanie Vaquer in the women's run. And then, yeah, I mean, that pop that Dr. Britt Baker got was just unreal. Like, it was one I was like, all right, we know Moné's going over. It's cool. I'm enjoying it. And then boom, that music hit and I popped again a little bit. I was like, nice. We haven't seen it now, and it's great to have her back. So I'm excited to see that feud out and would love for it to push far, and I assume it'll lead to All In and that. But it was great. I love seeing Britt Baker come back.
The good doctor is back. That's all I'm saying. She's back.
Right.
I'm excited about it. I loved like you said, New York hates Boston. It was hilarious. You see the one guy in the Celtics t-shirt? I think he thought the crowd was chanting at him and just had no idea that Mercedes Monet's from Boston. His reaction, the poor guy, he's like the one guy who's wearing a Celtics championship t-shirt in the third row. He stood up, he like looked around. He's like, what did I do? I'm so sorry. I wore the wrong t-shirt. It's like, it's not you. They're not even looking at you.
Clark, side note, you and I and Coby, when we were at Mania weekend last year, the Ring of Honor show, the same thing happened in LA.
Oh
where
yeah,
there was somebody wearing a Celtics jersey, and the
that's
entire
Celtics Lakers.
But still, we witnessed it twice. It's a rival. We've seen it. Tony Khan shows at least twice.
Like you said, it was at the LA Ring of Honor show, Mania weekend 39. It's a guy in a Jason Tatum jersey in the front row, and the immediate chant was F Boston from the entire crowd.
Yep.
He was milking it, though. I got to give this guy credit. He loved every second of it. I was like, that's sweet. Although I don't know how you wake up and you're like, you know what I'm going to wear to the Ring of Honor show tonight? My Jason Tatum jersey.
You wake up and chose violence. He woke up and chose violence that day.
Never understood that. It's like,
it's an odd choice for sure.
Yeah, like, it's an odd decision. You're like, you know what I should totally wear is my Ron Artest throwback to the Garden. Like, no.
That'd be great.
That would be funny.
I would love that.
Or at least in Detroit, if we're really getting nasty on when it comes to that one.
Well, like wear a Larry Bird jersey or something. I would respect a retro, but yeah, Jason Tatum, he's great, but
the guy that was wearing it too. Oh, I think I said this to actually Anthony and Coby when we were sitting in the seats watching him. And I'm like, pretty sure Tatum's younger than the guy that's wearing the jersey.
You said it to me.
I think Tatum's like 4 or 5 years younger than that guy. Okay, I'm sorry. It's enough on Celtics and Lakers in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to the IWGP Heavyweight Championship match. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, World Heavyweight Championship match between Tetsuya Naito and Jon Moxley. Ben had a day in the field with this one, or a field day, as they would call it. He was really disappointed in one Tetsuya Naito. I don't know, without AI type translation technology, that Naito can ever hear this. So I think we can be really critical when it comes to this segment. And at least that's what I told Ben this morning. But I totally get where he's coming from. Naito's facial expressions are great, but something was up. There was some funk. And also, I like the New Japan theme, I guess, with Moxley, but can't they just play Wild Thing, Anthony? What in the world is going on here with this?
It's funny because Ben got a lot of pushback, even from our own people in a general chat about this take. One particular person in particular had an issue with it. To me, I don't watch a lot of New Japan. I will watch it if I hear something or there's a match that I really want to see, but as a whole, I really don't. So I don't have as much experience seeing Naito as some other people. I have seen him a bunch. I've never been a fan of Naito. But I get exactly what Ben's saying last night. For a guy that's 42, he was moving around in that ring like he was 62. Like there was no real effort by him in this match. At points, it literally looked like, I'm laying on my back, let Moxley do all the work. Like, it very much felt that way. And, from the sloppy moves at different points, this was a match that, I guess the New Japan audience, it might appeal to them, but the audience was dead for this, for the most part. I mean, after a long night, this did not help, because this was towards the end. This was the next to last match, unless I'm completely forgetting.
That's absolutely correct.
Semi-main.
So it's a semi-main, and the audience was dead for this. No one cared, and then it felt like it was never ending at different points. This was it was not a good match. Ben was right. Naito wasn't even mailing it in. He was barely delivering it. I think more effort was given to him taking off his ring garb to get into his ring gear, which takes forever and a day. I don't think it was a good match. And Moxley holding the title, I get why they did it, because New Japan don't really have anybody else star power wise to carry it, because the two biggest ones, Okada and Ospreay, AEW swiped. So who else are you going to give the belt to? So essentially, they gave it to Moxley for a rental period between Naito and Naito again. I don't know what they're planning on doing with it, but if that was supposed to be a real positive representation of this partnership, I don't think it was there. Like, you show that, and then you show an ad going, January 5th, we're doing another combo show. And you're like, if that was a representation, that's not a good representation to motivate people to buy a show January 5th. It didn't deliver, in my opinion.
Yeah, I am with you. Other than that, the January 5th show, I'm excited about. Listen, I'm not saying I'm not excited, but if that was the match to motivate people, if they were on the fence, I don't think it motivated anybody. That's a very good point.
That's
and it's weird. The ad was weird because the door part of it, you're a little like,
yes,
oh, this timing is. It felt cringy at the timing that they played the ad, and I hate to be so critical because I'm a huge AEW fan, and I thought there was a lot more good in last night's pay-per-view than we gave credit for, like initially.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there were still some negatives. That's what's going to happen though with a new company, and I think you broke that down perfectly. Naito isn't in AEW. This is Forbidden Door, right? This is a different animal than he's used to. Funky Magic could have been anything. I was telling Ben when he was talking to me about it separately off the air, right? And not to give anybody some inside baseball or anything, but I was kind of just like, hey, look, I agree with you, but I also thought he kind of looked compromised. I haven't seen Naito look that stiff, and I don't mean stiff striking. I don't mean stiff like that. He looked like he didn't get stretched. Like he couldn't get loose.
That's what I mean when he looked older.
I thought he was struggling to get loose more than it was like he mailed in the effort.
It's almost like I wonder whether or not he's working through an injury and he's doing it for New Japan, of going, listen, I'll take the belt so that this can go to somebody else, but like, I'm doing the bare minimum to get through this. I don't know. I don't know him enough. I don't watch him enough to know that, but what Ben said about him sort of mailing it in, I see that based on what I saw last night.
Yeah, no, exactly. And by the way, I don't know. I'm just speculating.
Yeah.
From what I saw, I was looking at a guy. I'm like, he's compromised in some way. I thought like his hips just looked really stiff. Every time he was getting up, it didn't look like he was selling. And I think the awkwardness of that made it look more like a lack of effort than than what the reality was, which was like he was actually just kind of like really tight, basically. In some way and I don't have a reason for that. That is complete speculation.
Oh,
absolutely. Right? I'm guessing, to be clear. Like I'm not that's just what, based on my view of it, it felt like was possible. Shot added, should have built Gabe Kidd versus Moxley. Not a horrible idea.
How politically couldn't happen. Two champions.
Yeah.
And two New Japan champions at that point.
To comment on, I'm a huge Naito fan. A lot of Naito matches, and I've seen a lot of his stuff when he was working, when the relationship between ROH and New Japan was big in the 2010s ish and whatnot. And this was not what I was expecting or wanted or thought would happen. It seemed that he didn't really care, and he has that kind of mantra of not caring about stuff. I mean, there's a reason why he wasn't on the first Forbidden Door. Like, he didn't want to come over and do it. He had all these issues. So it felt like he may have been forced to do this because, like we said, there is no other option at this moment for somebody to be their top guy. But it was just different, and it was disappointing because every time I've seen Naito in the US, like, it's huge pops. It's him super invested in what he's actually doing. And here it just didn't feel that way. And I, outside of Ospreay and Swerve and then the Elite, like, this was the match that I was looking forward to the most. And it didn't deliver. And I don't know why. I'm interested to hear if there was like we've been saying anything else with it, but it definitely
Yeah.
wasn't a typical Naito in the U.S. match. So it felt like there was more to it.
I agree. I don't even think it was a typical Naito in Japan match, right? Like it wasn't. It was different.
It's tough because a lot of his matches are those slow builds. They're slow. They work with the selling. They work with the leg. Normally he'll sell a leg or he'll sell a neck or normally those do happen and they are normally good. But if you're, and I said, like, we can say this a year ago, if you're Tetsuya Naito and you're not facing Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kazuchika Okada, or Will Ospreay, you're not going full speed. And that never, it doesn't happen against Moxley, and it doesn't happen against Sonata. And I haven't seen the Yota Tsuji match yet from this year, but that it's just the reality of it is he wrestles a slow style because he is in that position where he has to. I almost like, obviously not to continue to speculate. I almost wonder if it was he saw the reactions from Shingo Takagi, from Mina Shirakawa, from Hichisaro against MJF. They all struggled,
and he got discouraged. That's actually an interesting take.
Maybe he was like, "Oh, I don't know if they're."
Oh man, we could spend a lot of time on that.
Wasn't ready or didn't think he was going to get any good of reaction.
That is a fair question to ask there, Coby.
And he did. He struggled. The pop of the match was Red Shoes.
Yes. Okay, but we're running low on time, so let's get into our final segment, Cobb. No, because we could talk about that for the rest of the day if we wanted to. But let's get into our final segment, which is going to be each of our match that we want to highlight, moment that we want to highlight that we have not yet already on this show. So, Coby, I am actually going to go right to you. If it is Red Shoes, that's totally fair. But your highlight of last night's show.
Like, obviously there's so much to talk about regarding Forbidden Door. Like Anthony has said on this show already, 15 matches. Obviously there's not 15 highlights, but to me, the one thing that went beyond what I was expecting, and of course I was expecting chaos, it was the TNT ladder match. It was a very predictable ending, the predictable result, but I thought this was by far the best ladder match of the year so far. Obviously there hasn't been many on a higher scale so far, but I think from start to finish, this is exactly what it needed to be. It was chaos. It was innovative moves. Takeshita looked like he murdered two guys with the brainbuster on the ladder and the Blue Thunder Bomb to El Phantasmo. And then we have the Mark Briscoe had a number of dives, and El Phantasmo got that UFO neckbreaker through the ladder to Leo Rush. It was just a lot of really good, and I don't want to say dangerous looking spots, but it looked rough on the competitors, and that's what a ladder match needs to do. If I'm not seeing that main event, I'm saying this is match of the night. But of course, the main match of the night is the main event.
I hear you there, and I love that. I will say, though, Coby, I think the one thing you missed, you were saying some name in Spanish I didn't understand, but the fact that they got Logan Paul at Forbidden Door, a guy that signed to the WWE, to show up in last night's ladder match, the real arguably going to be my highlight of the night. I mean, Logan was out there taking all those spots. Yeah, I mean, I thought he was going to win it, add to the United States title. I thought it was weird that the WWE didn't let him bring the United States title.
It was the one thing they couldn't agree on. But El Phantasmo is Spanish for the Maverick, so I can understand.
It is. That's exactly correct. Yep. That was Logan. Did you see it?
He was the unofficial.
He was in that match. I'm watching Forbidden Door. I'm like, holy heck, they did it.
You said that. You asked me.
They got him. Unbelievable. What a talent. Okay. Good.
That's funny. I love that. My match that I enjoyed obviously was the Elite match. I just love everything they do. I mean, Okada is a freaking genius. I mean, when they put the headphones on and he was being a DJ, like, he's just pure gold, man. And I didn't see Collision or all of it Saturday night, but I didn't realize that Tanahashi was now the Scissor Ace. So when they said that, I pretty big. I thought that was fantastic. The pre-package before the match where they were just, just hyping up the Elite again and do it like it's just great. I mean, outside of Swerve and Ospreay on a nightly basis, like the Elite is the best story going in AEW. And I enjoyed when fans were trying to chant the name that shall not be named right now, and the fans started booing the people doing that. I loved it. Like it just showed that people were for the Elite, at least, or at least for AEW in that moment. So I loved that match. I thought it was great. I super entertaining. I mean, anytime you get a Rainmaker in a match is great. When he does when he's now doing the Rainmaker spot and he just flips off the camera, like it is awesome. I love seeing again the Tanahashi Okada rivalry be reignited again for one night, and it was fun. It wasn't a 5-star amazing match by any means, but it told a good story. It kept the Elite on top. It kept Okada a main draw. I mean, he still gets one of the biggest pops of the night when that coin drops. Like it's just fun, man, and I love seeing it. So that was my entertainment for the night was the Elite.
I love it. The coin drop, I'm with you. It's electric. It's underrated. It's brilliant. And what I like about it is it's a sound, but we all call it the coin drop.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a phrase. It's not yeah. It's not what. It's not suck it. Right? It's not a catchphrase. But coin drop somehow kind of became a catchphrase just because you hear the sound.
Yep.
There's brilliance to that. I think that's unique to Okada. And I think it's really, really cool. And I love, like you said, the way he's just doing the Rainmaker spot in AEW with the big bird.
Yeah.
Yep.
So good.
I'll take it every single time. Anthony, moment of the night we haven't already covered.
Okay. I would go with Shingo and Danielson in the Owen qualifying match. I think, you knew going in, these are two guys that can really go. And, it's one of the only matches that, like, you didn't need a story for this because it's a tournament. So, like, tournament matches, you really don't necessarily need a story. So it was fine, but you knew they could deliver. You knew they were going to deliver. Although the winner was very predictable in that you knew Danielson was going over, because I don't picture AEW giving somebody the win in this tournament that doesn't get their check signed by Tony Khan. And I think Danielson is very much a front runner for this, because we know, as he said, and again, he could change his mind like everything else in wrestling. This is probably towards the end. So to main event All In with him going for the title, that's a possibility. I still think there's a chance. And I said this back when we were in LA over a year ago when we're talking about the first All In. But more so now, because every time he's on commentary, Nigel throws his digs to his old rival, Danielson. I think Nigel is going to cost Danielson the tournament, and I think we're getting Nigel Danielson one last time at All In. That's my honest opinion, because I don't think Danielson wants the belt. So I think that's where this is going, personally. I know that's a little side note, but that was my thought.
I really like that call. I think it's a great one. I think it makes a ton of sense. I have no issue with that. That could borderline main event Wembley with no belt on the line.
Yeah. I thought the same thing too. Like, I'm glad you brought it up, Anthony.
That's a couple thousand ticket match.
Yep.
Right. That's
especially for Nigel's match coming out of retirement for one last go. His old rival makes sense.
Put that on a poster. Okay. Before we finally go home, I'll do my moment of the night outside of what we had already covered. I'm going to go with Zack Sabre Jr., who I love to criticize his haircut because it's just ridiculous. I mean, stop it. But heck of a grappler, heck of a catch wrestler. But the reason it's my moment of the night is, despite him picking up the win via just a gorgeous submission, I mean, he twisted him into a pretzel. We need to stop on Orange Cassidy can't go or hang, or the gimmick won't work. Everything Orange Cassidy does works. He can work with multiple different styles. He just worked with the most sublime grappling based talent we've got going and stood in there with him and looked great. He hung with Zack Sabre Jr. The list goes on. Moxley last year. I mean, every single match, all of these matches, and it's week in and week out, and it doesn't stop. So we need to stop with Orange Cassidy doesn't work, because he does work. He's awesome. This match was awesome. I was excited. I'd love to see it again. I would love to see what we could do with Zack Sabre Jr. with a run in the US. And that's another reason I picked this one. I would love to see him have a run in any company. I don't think he's a good fit for WWE, but dang, is he a good fit for AEW, TNA, or anything like that. I'd be fascinated to see what he can accomplish with a sustained run over here on this side of the pond. But that, my friends, that's going to bring us here to the end of the show. Thank you, everyone that's tuned in. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do give it a thumbs up. Check out all of our other stuff on the Wrestling Republic YouTube channel. Check out Coby's review. Anthony's got an article coming out. Check out me and Coach T on all kinds of shows. We're great. Thank you again. Have an awesome Monday. Enjoy Monday Night Raw, and we'll talk to you all soon. Same place, same time tomorrow. So that's going to be noon Pacific. That's 3 in the East. That's 8 in the UK. And of course, 9 a.m. in Hawaii. Everyone have a good day.